Could we have some Miami Dolphins draft plans that are leaked? Why am I saying that? Well, some of the Dolphins' top 30 NFL draft visits have circulated on social media. Not a ton, only 6 of them to be in fact, so not as much as other teams. But with the NFL draft about 2 weeks away, these top 30 visits tell us who the Dolphins may be eyeing and kind of where their thoughts are in terms of position groupings, and we'll break it all down on today's show. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. And if you're fired up for the NFL draft, hit that thumbs up icon. I'm fired up. I can't wait to see who the newest Miami Dolphins are going to be starting on April 24th with that 13th overall pick. If you're like me, hit that thumbs up icon. All right, so the first ever top 30 visit that was leaked this go around was the safety from South Carolina, Nick Emmanwori, and this dude is an absolute physical freak. We've talked about him quite a bit on the channel. We've done videos with him on mock drafts. We broke down his top 30 visit 3 weeks ago. This is a first-round pick. This is a first-round talent who is likely going to go inside the first 32 picks. Now, there is a world where he might slip into the second round. I doubt it, but if that was the case, I would do everything in my power to trade up in between night 1 and night 2. But Emmanwori, I think, has solidified himself as someone going between like 15 and 32, if we're going to be honest. He was ultra productive for the South Carolina Gamecocks last season. 88 tackles, 6 PBUs, 4 interceptions. His best season in his career in terms of taking the ball away. He even had 2 touchdowns himself because he did not allow a touchdown last season in coverage. In fact, he only had a 37.1 QB rating when targeted last year and only allowed 200 yards on 38 targets. He had his best season of his collegiate career in coverage, and when you combine that with the fact he is a willing and able tackler, and then you add in the fact that he is maybe the best athlete in the entire NFL draft, well, because we don't see number 10s on the RAS. Remember, the scale is on 0 to 10. So he graded absolutely perfect on this. He's 6'3", 220, has strength, the 40-yard dash at 4.38, the explosiveness in the vertical and the broad jump. We're talking about one of the prospects in this draft that if you scripted and sculpted someone in a lab, yeah, that's what it would be when it comes to Nick Emmanwori. And even with all the positives, I have to say, on the South Carolina safety, when it comes to the Dolphins selecting at number 13, I think that might be slightly rich for him. Now, if you told me Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron, and both Armand Membu and Will Campbell are off the board at 13, could I see the Dolphins going with a safety like Emmanwori or Malachi Starks? I could, but ideally, if the Dolphins were to end up with Emmanwori on their team, it would be because they traded back from 13 into the late teens, early 20s, took him there, or traded back up from 48 into the early second round if he slipped through the cracks, or traded back up into the first round to get him at like 27, 28, or something like that. But with that being said, with how the draft position is likely going to shake out, him as a prospect, the need for Miami at safety, not as big as offensive line, defensive line, and corner, but a big need at safety. Would you draft the South Carolina safety Nick Emmanwori? Type D for draft or type P for pass. A top 30 visit that actually got leaked on April 9th, the morning of Wednesday. Kyle Williams, the wide receiver from Washington State. And this one is an intriguing name that I just did not anticipate seeing. This is a player that started out as a third round, fourth round projection, and he has worked his way up through visits, through the combine, his pro day, all the way up to a fringe first round pick. It would not shock me if Williams ultimately went between 25 and 32 on April 24th. It also wouldn't shock me if he went anywhere between 33 and 48. So maybe there is a world where Kyle Williams is on the board for the Dolphins in the middle of the second round. Could Miami strike on the Washington wide receiver? Well, he was one of the more productive guys at the college level last season, scoring 14 touchdowns. But the part that's so intriguing about him, he's a big play machine. Yeah, he had 70 receptions, but averaging 17.1 yards per catch is surprising, specifically when you look at his profile as an athlete and his size. He is not a big guy. He's only 5'10", 190, so it's not like he's a jump ball 50-50 wide receiver. He does have very good speed, ran a 4.4 at the combine, ranking in the 9.42 percentile out of 10. So Kyle Williams got some speed, but he doesn't have the biggest size, which is why I don't know if it's the best idea for the Miami Dolphins to go after Kyle Williams. Now, who knows with the newest Tyreek Hill drama, or if Miami just ultimately wants to move on from Hill this offseason. I think they're not going to. It doesn't make sense for them financially, but you never know inside the National Football League. If they ended up trading Tyreek Hill on draft night or plan to trade him post-June 1st, maybe they do go with a wide receiver at pick 13 or 48. But I don't think that is the case, which is why I don't think it's smart for Miami to go with any wide receivers in the first 50 selections. Let's move on to another top 30 visit here in Alfred Collins, the defensive lineman from Texas. And this is an intriguing player that I have liked quite a bit. I've mock drafted him to Miami many times in the second and potentially third round as well. And that's kind of where his range is. There's no clear direction on if he's going to go in second round or the third round, but he was very productive for the Texas Longhorns last season and the years prior, really getting his time to shine over the last 2 years, working on the interior, got after the quarterback, was able to make plays in the run game as well. Talking with Tom Downey, who's our lead NFL draft analyst, he has consistently told me that Alfred Collins and Miami are a really good fit, and he could see the Dolphins absolutely targeting Alfred Collins in day 2 of the NFL draft. And that's really the intrigue when it comes to Collins. I don't know where he will go. If the Dolphins ended up picking him at 48, I don't think I would be that upset with it, if I'm going to be honest. I think Collins is a very productive, and he has a solid ceiling in the National Football League. There's also a world where he slips into the third round, and maybe you see the Dolphins strike, moving up from 98 or trading future draft capital to acquire a second third-round pick to take Alfred Collins. I do think this could potentially be a day one starter alongside Zach Sealer, which is why Alfred Collins coming on a top 30 visit to Miami certainly intrigues me and has my eye open when it comes to him as a target. We got 3 more top 30 visits to break down, but I got to show some love to the official ticketing partner of Dolphins Today, and that is Game Time. I use Game Time every time I purchase my tickets, whether I'm going to a comedy show, concert, or this summer going to an MLB game. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and they have the lowest price guaranteed. It takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. They have a great feature called Game Time Picks, which makes last-minute ticket buying even easier. It quickly highlights the best deals in the stadium. And I mentioned lowest price guaranteed. If you actually find a ticket on a different service in the same exact section, same exact seat, same row, same whole 9 yards, they will credit you 110% of the difference. That's how serious they are about having the lowest price. So take advantage of today, whether you want to go to a Heat game if you're in the Miami area, a Marlins game this summer, a concert like Chris Brown. He's coming in July. Lady Gaga's coming this summer as well. Home Depot Park's got you covered. Buy your tickets on Game Time. Download the app, and when you create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Sticking on the defensive line here, another top 30 visit. Texas A&M's own Shemar Turner, not to be confused with Shemar Stewart, who is likely going to go inside the first round of the NFL draft, an edge coming out of Texas A&M. Turner is a more prototypical inside defensive lineman, but he does have a lot of versatility to him. He was productive last season for the Aggies, getting 21 pressures, a couple sacks, good plays in the run game as well, 6 TFLs. Turner is a very intriguing prospect, and the reason why I like him is his versatility. I talk about that word quite a bit on the show, but when Turner embodies it and can play almost everywhere on the defensive line, and he did that for Texas A&M. He lined up on the outside. He lined up on the inside, similar to what Calais Campbell did for Miami this past season when they were dealing with so many injuries to their edge group. He's a versatile defensive lineman. I expect him to be a day 2 guy, whether that's in the second round or the third round. So similar to Alfred Collins, Turner's in that range, which is why we look at top 30 visits, because with them looking at multiple defensive linemen with top 30 visits that have a day 2 potential outcome, that tells you they might look to draft a defensive lineman in either the second or the third round. We knew that, but it's only honed in even more by these top 30 visits. Which is why you subscribe to the channel, because we have you covered on all Miami Dolphins NFL draft news, draft rumors, visits, mock drafts. We have you with everything you need surrounding the Dolphins when it comes to the draft in 2 weeks. So hit that sub button. Can we get to 69,000 before the draft? I think we can. Hit that sub button. Moving over to the secondary here, Kevin Winston Jr., the safety from Penn State. This is a player that I personally like a lot because this is someone who a couple years ago was looked at as a first-round pick. Now is not the case. He is widely projected to go on day 2 of the NFL Draft. So with all of these players that we're talking about on today's show, at least the last 4 or 5 of them have all been day 2 options for the Miami Dolphins. Emmanwori is the true only first-rounder that has visited the Dolphins headquarters to this point. Winston Jr. could have easily been a first-round pick if he did not tear his ACL this season. Coming into this last college football year of 2024, he was projected to be a first-round pick lock. Him and Malachi Starks were looked at as the no-doubt top 2 safeties in this draft class. But after just 2 games, he partially tore his ACL, forced him to miss all of this season for the Nittany Lions. It was a big loss for that defense, and it's dropped his stock down to the 2nd or 3rd round. But when you look at his tape from 2023, which is when he was looked at as a potential first-rounder, you see why people might think of him as a top 32 type of talent. He plays well in the run game. He's a ball hawk, 6 PBUs, 1 interception, just has a knack for forcing turnovers. We'll see how the medicals check out, but if the Dolphins doctors like what they see from that partially torn ACL and they feel good about his health in the future, he's an option at 48 if the Dolphins want to go safety, but if he somehow slips to 98, it would be a home run selection if you're asking me. The last top 30 visit Miami had was with another defensive lineman, but this is a player not like the rest. This is Keontae Hamilton, the defensive lineman from Rutgers. The reason why this one is not like the rest is because he is likely not going to be drafted in the first 200 picks. This is a potential 7th round guy or a UDFA target for the Miami Dolphins. And he was relatively productive for the Scarlet Knights at Rutgers last season. He had 4 sacks. He's a little bit of an undersized defensive lineman that plays on the interior, but someone that Miami clearly has highlighted as someone they want to get to know more with having a top 30 visit. And anytime you have a UDFA type of player and prospect go on a top 30 visit, that tells you that Miami would probably like to bring them in and have potentially expressed that to Keontae, saying, hey, if you're not took in the first or taken a draft at all, come with us. We'll give you a pretty solid UDFA signing bonus to join our Dolphins team. All right, so the Dolphins met with 6 NFL draft prospects on top 30 visits right now. There is more. There probably has been more that just haven't been reported, but those are the 6 that have been reported as top 30 guys. Which player is your favorite? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I did want to briefly mention these 3 other visits/meetings. They do not count as top 30. We've talked about Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU. That is actually classified as a local visit. Even though he came to Dolphins headquarters, he played high school football in Miami, which makes him a local visit guy. They met with 2 quarterbacks, Ethan Garbers from UCLA. That was reported today, a virtual meeting, not a top 30 visit. And then Quinn Ewers, they met with him at Texas's Pro Day. They had a dinner with the Texas Longhorn quarterback, a day 3 QB draft prospect that I think Miami may be interested in with one of their 2 picks in the 4th and 5th round, but 3 other names I wanted to share with everyone on today's show. And make sure you are continued to hit that sub button if you haven't already, and stay locked in because we'll have the best Dolphins draft content on YouTube over the next 2 weeks, and we will also be live for all 3 days of the NFL draft, so join me when the big day comes around on Thursday, April 24th.